Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to share about measurement studies, a type of design that you can also use to investigate about instruments or tools that use to measure psychological constructs. So this is one of the issues that I would like to begin with. Okay, I believe that most of you have at least once or in your lifetime have experienced answering online quizzes or tests to identifying your personality, to explore who you are, or to relate your how do you relate to a character, a fruit, or even to a celebrity. Okay, so these online instruments or questions are used to gather information about yourself, and then they infer about the character. But to be honest, this is a type of instrument or quiz that I found on Facebook, and is actually trying to associate my responses with a cartoon character. Okay, so the first question was, what type of humor do you prefer? Okay, to be honest, I was not very sure what is satirical means. Okay, so what you mean by dark and morbid? So even in the first question, I'm not very sure how to respond to it. So how do I believe at the end of the day that the information that has been gathered through this quiz will truly give me an understanding about my personality or my character that can be associated to a cartoon? Okay, so I'm not going to give a true response or the accurate response because I don't even understand the options as that has been given to me. So my selection of option is not going to be true, not going to be true representative of who I am, and that might influence my responses or my calculation for the character, and then the character that they are going to inform me at the end might not represent who I truly are. So this is an issue of using tools to measure character, to measure personality. Okay, so you need to have a proper tool, a proper instrument to measure who the personality or the any internal traits that you want to bring out. Okay, we have measurement studies. In psychology, in education, or any other fields, we have a lot of questionnaires, we have a lot of instruments. Okay, all these instruments are growing rapidly. Interestingly, I came across an instrument called coronavirus anxiety scale. So they're measuring anxiety of having coronavirus or experiencing coronavirus, and that was published in somewhere around April, which was very, very surprising to me because this shows how much the instrument development or the need for instrument is growing every day. Okay, so that is a really rapid growth in instrument development. A new instrument is being developed continuously to assess so many information. But the question is the quality of the instrument. Does all this rapidly developed instrument are good? Do they really measure what we want to measure? Because you see, instrument development, as you learn during the survey, it is developed by humans, so it is prone to error. It has a lot of room for error. You might not be measuring the proper one. You know, it can be just based on your own understanding, so it might not be suitable to others. So there is a lot of issues revolving around instrument development on its own. So how do you assure that the instrument that you are going to use or you prefer to use, it is in a good shape or in good quality? Okay, so a good instrument should be able to provide accurate information about the content that we want to measure. The information should be valid and should be able to interpretable. Okay, So that is what the term we call psychometric properties in an instrument studies. We need to look into the psychometric properties, psychometric qualities of an instrument to ensure that the information that we get are accurate and valid. So in psychometric properties or evaluation, there are two main branches that we usually look into. One is the reliability and another one is validity. Reliability means how reliable the instrument is. So whenever a different person takes the test or in a different time that a person takes the time, for example, I take in the beginning of the semester and a person takes the test at the end of the semester, okay, it should always give the same information if both of us have the similar trait. Okay, it is not that on the first week it shows that I have anger, on the fifth week it shows I totally don't have anger, without any intervention. So it has to be consistent in providing the same information. It is like telling a story, a lie, okay? When you're lying to someone, you have to be consistent so that the story become reliable. If there is inconsistency in your stories or in your lie, that means your story will not be reliable. So that is what we want to measure from the instrument. So the instrument should tell the same story every time you use it. Okay, so that is what we mean by reliability. The instrument should be reliable. You should get the similar result no matter who sits or takes the test. They always should get the similar results if they have same traits or same characteristics, same personality. If you're measuring personality, if myself and a person B has a openness trait, okay, so whenever we take a test for openness, it should always tell us that we are having openness trait or personality. It is not that today it says I have openness and after 3 weeks it says that I have neuroticism. You see, so it should be reliable in telling the story. So in reliability, actually it means whether you're having stable information. Is the information provided stable across the time? There should be a repetition. Every time you do it, it should give the same results. Homogeneity. Okay, so we also want to see how consistently is your results. Every time that you report something, there should be a consistency. The result or as I said, when you're lying, the story should be the same. Okay, so it has to be consistent of the details. Only then it becomes reliable. Something that can be believable. Okay, and also equivalence, agreement. So when you're looking into reliability, sometimes we have different observers. Different observers using an instrument to evaluate. For example, if you're having FYP final year project, so what happens is you will be graded by two evaluators. One will be by your supervisors, the other one will be from the examiners. So we can look into the agreement of the scores that one person gets. So we would like to see if these two raters, your supervisor and your evaluators, having similar responses for the same project. So how much level of agreement do we have? So the higher agreement, meaning the more reliable the instrument that used for evaluation, because the way that they analyze, understand the items are similar for both the individuals. So that is what we mean by reliability. So another important element in psychometric properties are called validity. So your instrument should measure what you wanted to measure. If the instrument is supposed to measure personality, it should measure personality. It should not be measuring anxiety. Okay, so you have to ensure that yes, this instrument really extract information about a person's personality. Okay, and you have to measure whether it does the items, because remember it is just a list of questions that you are asking. So do you have enough questions in the instrument to capture everything about a person's personality? So that's why some of the instruments, or maybe instruments that you will be learning in your psychological testing 1, psychological testing 2, you might have instruments that up to 200 items or 200 questions, because they really want to capture about your personality, your inner traits. So you have to make sure, if you are developing a questionnaire or instrument, do you really have enough items to capture the entire spectrum of the trait or anxiety or anything that you would like to capture on about a person? And does these items, all these questions, represent a certain dimension or constructs? For example, do they really measure personality? You have to ensure every question that you ask should be reflecting on the anxieties or the stress. So you cannot write items that was meant for anxiety under stress. No, it should be for, if it's for stress, you have to be very clear in writing the items for stress and also for anxiety. So all this, why do we even bother finding the psychometric properties? Why do we even bother to find the reliability, the validity? Why? Because all these are evidences that we can use to ensure about the quality of the instrument. It provides information about the instrument. Okay, why? Because when you have all this information, a valid and reliable instrument, you can convince people that your instrument is good. So nobody is willing to use your instrument if you do not show or provide any evidences it is reliable or even valid. So you need to provide all these facts to people. Okay, so under psychometric, there are two main branches that people explore. One is test development, another one is psychometric evaluation. So under psychometric studies, people generally develop test instruments. They develop a totally new measure. We have talked about measuring new how to develop an instrument or questionnaire during the survey topic. Okay, and another one that they do is they conduct psychometric evaluation. They assess the quality of an existing instrument. They do not develop from scratch, but they take somebody's instrument and then they test it on a specific population to assess if it provides any quality, any evidences to support the quality of this instrument. So the first branch, test development and validation. I've shared this article last week. So I'm going to go over what this paper is trying to inform us. So it is a development and validation of statistical anxiety scale. And this is a good example of a totally new instrument. So these authors are developing a new instrument. Okay. They are going to develop based on a construct or dimension called anxiety taking statistics scores. So they want to measure about people's anxiety when sitting for statistics course. So how do we measure their anxiety? So we need a tool. We need a set of questions. So far there is none existing one. So they said, okay, let's develop a new instrument that can capture about people's anxiety when they are taking statistics score. So within the instrument, they have 24 questions, 24 items capturing about anxiety. And there are different sub-constructs within this big construct that they would like to measure. They want to see, okay, we are talking about anxiety as a whole when they're taking stat score. So how about let's even be detailed. Let's have items to ask questions about examination anxiety, asking help anxiety, and also interpretation anxiety. So we are actually going into detail about the information that you can get about anxiety during statistics course. So what did they do? In the test development and validation, they developed the items. How did they develop the items? They looked into the previously developed instrument, the stars, and then they use some of the items. And also they asked statistics teachers to write statements about the aspects of 3 different anxieties that we just mentioned above. So these are the information that they get, the authors get, and they start developing the items. Then once they have developed the items, they test it out. So when they wanted to test it out, they said, okay, they also measure about students' academic performance in addition of testing the items. Okay, so using all this information, they did the validation. So validation in test development meaning that they are conducting multiple analysis to find evidences to support that this instrument is good. So, this is like developing a project or an idea. Okay, so once you are developing an idea or a project, so you have to convince people, you have to like sell the idea that your product is good. So how do you show that your product is good? You have to show this effectiveness. You have to show that, yes, this product can do wonders. So what are the things that the product can do? So that is what we are trying to impose here by doing validation. So we conduct statistical analysis so that with the numbers we can convince people that, hey, look at my instrument. It has all the evidences to support good psychometric qualities. So you can use it without doubt. Okay. So what are the tests that these authors have conducted? So they did a factor analysis. Okay. Factor analysis is a type of statistical analysis that I would consider as an advanced level of stats, and this is conducted to examine the factor structure. Okay, like they want to see your backbone of your instrument. So when you're developing your instrument, you say there is a one big construct called anxiety, and within this anxiety we can break into examination anxiety, interpretation, and asking for help anxiety. So there are 3 factors in it. So when you administer this test to a sample, you want to see if these 3 exist or there is only 2 factors. So ideally you want them to have 3 factors, but is that how people understand or respond to it? Okay, so that is what they did through factor analysis. They also did a correlation analysis with academic performance. So they want to see if this instrument, as we said that we want to use this instrument in future. So if you want to know about people's academic performance, you can also measure their statistics anxiety scores, and they say that can it predict a person's statistics test scores. So if you have an idea, logically, if you have a high anxiety for examination, for statistics, it is most likely that you'll have a poorer academic achievement because you have this anxiety in you and you tend to not perform well. So what happens is we want to show that with this instrument you can actually help people with anxiety problems, and then we can help them to find interventions or activities to resolve their anxiety and improve their statistics experiences. So that is what we would like to examine, the correlation. If they are correlated, if these scores from academic performance is correlated with the anxiety scores from the instrument, then it means anxiety actually can help to predict about the student's stats paper. So when they are related, meaning we can actually use these anxiety scores. We can screen students with this anxiety instrument, and once we know that they have low scores, we can help them immediately before they go for the test. Okay, and then you can also they also did run reliability analysis, and they wanted to see if the items that has been or questions that has been written, the 24 items, do they group together? Okay, when do they have high consistency, or do they have homogeneity? Are they similar to each other? Ideally, they have to be similar to each other because they are measuring the same construct. Items, they won't be identical, but they have to be similar. They have to be homogeneous, because end of the day, you want to measure a single construct. They should have items measuring about anxiety. All these items, the 24 items, should be measuring anxiety. There should not be one item measuring personality in it. So how do we know that? Through reliability analysis. So all this reliability, correlation, factor analysis, all these analyses are actually giving us information about the validity and the reliability of the instrument. So once your instrument is valid and reliable, it can be used for general purposes. You can have more people have more confidence on your instrument, and they can use in the multiple contexts. Another branch of psychometric studies or measurement study is psychometric evaluation itself. So this is an article where there is this group of authors assess the qualities, the psychometric qualities, the reliability and validity of this instrument called brief symptom inventory on a specific sample. Okay, so brief in symptom inventory 18 has been developed, has been used widely, okay, to screen patients. So this instrument is being developed in the US or in some other Western countries. Okay, so what happened is, and this has been used over there for many years. Okay, the authors, Frankie and his team, they found this tool very helpful in screening patients. So what they did is they took this existing instrument and they modified and they tested whether it is still valid and reliable when this instrument is used in a German population. Okay, all this while this instrument was developed for say population, for the American population. But now, since it's very successful in getting accurate and reliable information about persons' symptoms at the US, so these authors took that instrument, an existing instrument, and tested its quality in a German population. Okay, so to find, why do they do that? Because they want to find if this instrument is applicable in the German context. And if it is applicable, meaning that this instrument is really good because it provides evidence that this brief symptom inventory is not only useful in the US population, but you can also use across countries, across culture. And one of the evidence is it is applicable in the German population. So that is another approach. Okay, so one approach in psychometric studies is you totally develop a new instrument and you test its quality. Another branch is you take an existing instrument and you test the quality. So when you're evaluating the psychometric properties in this study, what they did was they conducted analysis. So they used the same instrument, they modified some of it, they changed the language to German, and then they checked whether do they give the similar result, the reliable results. So what they did is they conducted analysis, validation analysis. So they did a confirmatory factor analysis. Previously, they did a factor analysis as well. Here they are also doing factor analysis, but here is confirmatory. They are trying to confirm the factor structure. BSI also has 3 factors. Okay, so 3 constructs that they are measuring. They have psychological distress and 2 more factors. Okay, so they want to make sure that okay, in US you have 3 factors. Now I'm taking the same instrument and testing out in the German population. So do I still get the 3 factor in that instrument? does the question or items falls into these three subconstructs or three dimensions, or is it different? Okay, so that is what they are trying to test it out. They want to confirm it. Next is they run reliability analysis. Still, they wanted to check, okay, over in the US, these items measure the same construct. But you have to remember, in the German sample, due to culture, due to experiences, there might be items that might have been not measuring what it's supposed to measure. Maybe some items are not culturally sensitive. Maybe they don't have items that brings the same meaning. Maybe the Germans are thinking differently. So they want to see if these items still group together. So they still measure the same content, or do they measure differently in the context of German? Okay. So we have to remember that when you are doing measurement study, there are two branches of it. Okay, either you are taking totally a new instrument and examining the quality, or you take an existing instrument. So if you're going through the new instrument branch, you really need to start with scratch. You have to go back to the theory, you have to develop the entire instrument, you have to run a pilot test, you have to consider your items are not double barreled, your items are clear, the language used, everything need to be planned ahead and completed before you even send it for testing. So testing is actually to bring more information about the quality of the instrument. And in that particular branch, the new instrument and validation, it is actually a very long process and a very iterative process, meaning that you run multiple times because it's totally new. So you have to really sell the idea to people that this is a good instrument. So you have to do continuous evaluation of the instrument until the instrument becomes stable and reliable. So there is a long process, and a lot of steps need to be taken in order to get a stable and reliable instrument. And when you're taking an existing instrument, this is there are a lot of our FYP students have done before. They have tested the quality of DAS 21. Mostly are looking into whether they bring the real meaning that it's supposed to measure. Does it able to predict an information when this instrument is used as screening? So there is a lot of studies that I found in our FYP students, our psychology students, that uses the existing instrument to further gather evidences, okay, to basically evaluate the quality of the instrument. Same goes with the new instrument. Why do we do so many evaluation? Why do we actually run a lot of analysis? Because all these analysis, the validation analysis for new and existing instrument, is intended to evaluate the quality of the instruments. Once you get the quality, it actually gives us evidences on the accuracy of the information that we get. Okay, as at the beginning, I showed the slide of a quiz that is posted on Facebook, how much accurate the information that I will get at the end of the quiz. Okay, so there is no evidences that it has been tested or this questions has been validated. Okay, so it is just being randomly posted, and I'm not very sure if it is even correct. Okay, so or how did they even develop the instrument, or where did they modify it from it? So it is not providing any evidences. So when there is a lack of evidences, it kind of brings a query on the accuracy, on the quality, and especially on the reliability and the validity of the information. So these evidences and the evidences that we are trying to gather is a lot on the reliability and validity. When you have a reliable and valid instrument, then your accuracy will be high. it is audiences or the users, the practitioners will be very much interested to use it for their practices. It will become more meaningful. So when you're developing or when you're using an instrument, please be careful in their selection. Look for the valid and reliable information, because this will provide us with this will help us to ensure you get accurate information from these tools. And about reliability and validity, you will be studying in detail when you get to psychological testing papers. Okay, when you're writing your research proposals, when you're conducting your final year project, you have to provide evidences on the instruments that you use to gather information. For example, if you want to measure about anxiety, okay, about anxiety, regular anxiety, so and you decided to use DAS, so you have to provide information about its reliability and validity in your thesis. Although you are studying about relationship, but in your study, if you are using an instrument to measure the anxiety, you have to provide evidences that this instrument is good enough. So how do you ensure it is good enough? You have to provide information about reliability and validity. Okay, hope it was clear.